on this Friday night.
It's not about me, it's about the kids.
Susan Ormiston is with the Caravan in Mexico, where a punishing journey splits the group apart. Can the most vulnerable catch up?
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Hundreds of protesters in Toronto say Steve Bannon shouldn't be given a platform to speak. But inside, thousands listen to him debate the future of democracy.
Clocks are just never cease to amaze me. How they just keep going and going.
And meet a man who will be putting in extra time this weekend, while most of us get an extra hour of sleep. This is The National. This is the last desperate push. Republicans and Democrats are both bringing out their biggest guns to get Americans out to vote in Tuesday's midterms.
Don't be bamboozled. Don't be hoodwinked. While you're distracted with all this stuff they're making up, they're also robbing you blind.
We will stop catch and release, end visa lottery, end chain migration, and we will keep the criminals, drug dealers, and terrorists the hell out of our country.
Donald Trump is blitzing potentially vulnerable states, holding at least 9 rallies the final 4 days. And he's been hammering a favorite theme of his, vilifying a caravan of migrants, painting them as hardened criminals, a crisis in the making, but offering no proof. In reality, many are poor families, desperate to escape gang violence in places like Honduras. After days of walking, they are exhausted, sick, and sleep-deprived, but still determined. And some are speeding up. They're trying to escape Mexico's southernmost states in case their welcome wears out. Susan Ormiston is with the Caravan in southern Mexico.
The Caravan is rolling faster today, more on wheels than walking. Aided by the spirit of strangers. Like Manolo Benitez, she brought clothes and food and her son and grandson to help the migrants. She knows what it's like to be poor.
Sentimos que lo que ellos sufren, también nosotros lo sufrimos.
What they suffer, we feel too, she says.
Dejar morir a las personas.
On the back of another truck, we find a family from San Pedro Sula, Honduras, where the Caravan first began. Still in southern Mexico 3 weeks later, Jose Colindra has no real idea of what would happen if he reaches the U.S. border. How will you cross the border?
Pues la verdad no sabemos.
The truth is, we don't know, he says.
No sabemos.
As we're talking, another flatbed pulls up. They scramble to get on. Before they can leap, off it goes, leaving them waiting again. As thousands tramp down this road, the U.S. president ups the stakes. Election-fueled promises to change asylum laws haven't filtered down much here, but deploying the U.S. troops has. Trump can put up as many soldiers as he likes on the border, says Julio Acuye. But we're like ants. When they kill a few, the rest spread.
Como las hormigas.
He was kicked out of the U.S. once. He's trying to get back. What are you going to do when you get to the border?
Tal vez pagar un coyote.
Hire a coyote, meaning he'll get smuggled across. This caravan is holding, but today, signs of a split. After a rotten night in a flooded camp, a couple thousand in a fast group has gone on ahead. Those behind are growing impatient. An organizer warns they have to stay together for safety and for unity. But it would mean moving again. Tough for the families like Cynthia's. Are you feeling like you might want to finish this caravan? It's not about me. It's about the kids. They're getting too tired. Mexican human rights officer Juan Jose Garcia says every day is a bit less organized. What's your sense, Juan, of the mood of these people?
They are desesperated, no? Because it's a long, long walk.
Finally, decision made, they move out again, trying to catch the others, with another storm approaching. It takes a lot of faith. So 3 weeks in, they're going on their second walk in one day. But at least the organizers have kept the caravan together this day. That will be the challenge going forward, as some are reconsidering their options. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Donaghey, Mexico.
While the caravan is being used to widen the political divide ahead of the U.S. midterms, those deep divisions were very much on display here in Canada tonight as political passion spilled over onto the streets of downtown Toronto. Police were there as a crowd demonstrated outside Roy Thomson Hall. They were protesting the appearance of right-wing political strategist Steve Bannon in town to take part in a long-running public debate series. Tonight's installment of the Monk Debates was a clash between two vastly different thinkers on the right. One, an establishment Republican, the other, an aggressive insurgent who many consider politically dangerous. Bannon was on one side, a self-made man with working-class roots who rose from relative obscurity to become a major shaper of the right. He was a driving force behind many of Donald Trump's most controversial policies. And on the other side, David Frum, in many ways the consummate establishment Republican, an intellectual and regular political commentator, including here on the CBC. Frum is a former speechwriter for George W. Bush and a champion of classical liberalism. The Monk Debates have featured controversial figures before, but not like Bannon. A self-described nationalist, many consider his ideas racist. Bannon denies that, but seems to relish the outrage he inspires. Ron Charles saw lots of that at the venue in Toronto.
This is where the debate over the debate got real.
No platform for fascists!
Hundreds of protesters from 40 different groups confronted the ticket holders to the debate between Steve Bannon and David Frum. Police stood between them. The protesters call both men right-wing ideologues and say Bannon doesn't deserve freedom of speech.
There's a difference between free speech and hate speech. That's the difference.
Steve Bannon is an ultra-right, soft on the Ku Klux Klan kind of racist. He wants to expunge freedom of speech. He wants to, incinerate people who disagree with his, he wants to target populations. People of color, Jews, Muslims, Arabs.
The protesters took a moment to remember victims of last week's Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. Organizers say there's a link between Bannon's ideas and that tragedy.
When people like this are given platforms, it has a death count. And that's the message that we're trying to get out to people today.
But many people who bought tickets to the sold-out event say it's important to air Bannon's views.
I don't necessarily support him in any way, but if you make people afraid to express their views, then they'll hold those views perennially. They'll keep there's no way to debate them and change their minds.
Several of the ticket holders said they can appreciate the protesters' desire to ban Bannon, but felt a need to hear him.
This is a perfect opportunity to come out and sort of hear different opinions. As Canadians, that's part of who we are, and that's part of what we do, is that we give everyone the opportunity to sort of talk and debate.
I understand their perspectives, but at the same time, I'm really interested in hearing what he has to say because I want to know what we should be fighting against.
We've got medics over here, you come with me.
Some protesters said police pepper sprayed them. Officers made a few arrests, but otherwise the protest against the debate was loud but peaceful. Ron Charles, CBC News, Toronto.
Those who were inside tonight heard this motion debated. Be it resolved that the future of Western politics is populist, not liberal. Arguing for Bannon, the renegade populist. Arguing against Frum, the Washington insider. There are restrictions on how much we're allowed to show you, but here's a taste.
The thing we've been arguing about for 200 years is the relationship of human beings one of domination and oppression or one of potential fruitful cooperation? And that is...
We have socialism in the United States for the very wealthy. and the very poor, and a brutal form of Darwinian capitalism for everybody else. The devil catch the hindmost.
It is absolutely true that liberal democracy is in trouble now because of the failures that have happened in the past, because of the financial crisis, and because of lost wars or unsuccessful wars. And it was true that liberal democracy in the 1930s got into trouble because of mistakes that were made. There would have been no fascism had the 1920s led to permanent success. The failures of a good system are not a reason to turn to an evil one.
Donald Trump is a transformative president and a historic figure. He's going to be in your lives 10, 20, and 30 years from now. That's a Kafkaesque novel, isn't it? It is.
It was quite a night. Okay, let's turn to a recent Canadian development that seems well beyond debate. Barely 2 weeks in, Canadians have largely accepted, if not embraced, the sale of recreational pot. But demand is putting great pressure on supply. And one cost of that is already being felt by people who use cannabis for medical reasons. Diane Buckner talked to someone who knows it firsthand.
Dan Goulet has lots of cannabis. He works for a cannabis company. But his company doesn't make the CBD oil he needs to manage health problems related to a concussion.
With this, I do get immediate relief, but it only lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours at most, and then I have to medicate again. Whereas with oils, I could take a dropper and I'm good for 6 to 8 hours.
He searches every day with no luck.
Yeah, no CBD oil from the Aurora store or from the Ontario Cannabis store.
I get emails every day and from across the country, frankly.
James O'Hara runs a group that advocates for medical marijuana patients. He says many Canadians are having trouble filling their prescriptions.
Patients are saying, look, if I can't get my supply, and I haven't been able to, my seizures have become worse, my conditions become worse. I've had to go to my doctor. I've had to resort to opioids.
He wonders why there are no rules about giving priority to patients.
And unfortunately, there's no regulations in place to actually guarantee supply for the medical market.
In an email, a spokesman says Health Canada remains confident that there is sufficient supply of cannabis overall to meet demand now and into the future. The industry, however, acknowledges there's problems. It says medical patients remain a priority, but that this brand new sector is experiencing significant growing pains.
We've had new packaging and logistical rules applied to us. We've had the demands of the adult consumer use marketplace. And like any new industry, we've had the issues of scaling up and ensuring we have the staff to meet the need.
Cannabis companies say they're working 24/7 to get product out the door. But Dan Goulet thinks he could be waiting for weeks.
It's something that I'm just waiting out and hoping for the best.
He'll be struggling to manage his health issues until then. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Kitchener, Ontario.
Now, another part of the new cannabis equation is new packaging and marketing rules, different from province to province. But the ones in Quebec have some retailers pretty ticked off, and they're complaining no other province is as strict. Jayla Bernstein explains.
This downtown Montreal head shop has a few empty shelves because roughly 1/5 of its pot-related paraphernalia is now forbidden. Quebec's Cannabis Act bans businesses from selling anything with images or wording associated with cannabis.
No more cannabis leaf on any t-shirts. So as you can see, like most of my...
It's so empty,
yeah.
That space.
We used to have about over 30 SKUs. We're down to like, honestly, not even half of it.
Board games, jars.
Anything that has a pot leaf.
Even coloring books. It doesn't matter how subtle the reference is, even the word bud could cost a business thousands of dollars in fines.
I joke that Bob Marley, for example, was a reference to cannabis. But oddly enough, it is quite ambiguous. For example, one inspector will say that the word blunt is a reference to cannabis, and another will say that 420 is a reference to cannabis, but they both don't agree.
Entrepreneurs who sell across Canada say it's tough to navigate the patchwork of laws.
Well, that's been the difficulty, is not knowing exactly what is considered an issue for Quebec and what's against their policy has been the most difficult challenge.
I find that the rules in place here are a little bit more prominent, a little bit more strict, and yeah, so we decided to play it a little bit on the safe side, pick some more of our toned down pieces.
Even this craft brewery is in trouble for the labels on its cannabis-flavored beer, which won't actually make you high.
Pot, it means like cannabis. Without cannabis, it's illegal.
Martin Guimont plans to battle it out in court. In the meantime, he's creating new labels to remove all references to cannabis, but says he could still lose as much as $100,000.
So it's legal, like, to come in my bar, rolling a joint, and prepare yourself to smoke on the street. And I'm not able to told you, like, okay, just to let you know, I have a beer of the flavor of cannabis.
The province declined to speak with us about the rule, but they may have to address it in court. Christopher Manilo's chain, Prohibition, is working on a legal challenge. And while his company is big enough to absorb the losses, he says smaller businesses could go bankrupt if the province refuses to mellow out. Jayla Bernstein, CBC News, Montreal.
Some other stories we're following tonight on The National, including more political uncertainty for New Brunswick as the government is defeated.
I will go see the Lieutenant Governor at her earliest convenience to inform her that I will be resigning as Premier.
Brian Gallant and the Liberals had hoped to form a minority government with the help of the Greens and a relatively new party, the People's Alliance. Today, though, MLAs voted no confidence, 25-23. The Progressive Conservative leader, Blaine Higgs, will now be given a chance to form a government.
So what exactly would look like justice to you right now?
Terry Lynn back in her cell. A little cell where she belongs. Max security.
The father of murdered schoolgirl Tori Stafford led a rally in Ottawa calling for tougher prison conditions for convicted killers. Tori was just 8 years old when she was kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered in 2009. That's one of her killers, Terry Lynn McClintock, serving a life sentence, but she was transferred to a medium security Indigenous healing lodge. Protesters say she should be back behind bars. The public safety minister says he's now reviewing a report on the case.
And still ahead tonight on The National, we'll introduce you to the Toronto Clockmaster, who's been responsible for turning clocks back and forth for 35 years.
Plus, the grassroots movement growing in a community in Halifax, how black men in the 902 area code are working hard to make sure the young men in their neighborhoods make the most of their opportunities.
And celebrities out in full force trying to encourage their fans to vote. But can even the brightest star power in the U.S. get young people to the polls?
Young people are just sort of jaded and cynical in a sort of unnatural way nowadays because we have so much just tremendous access to information.
Grainy old photographs recall the days when Stanley was bustling with gold fever. Today, the Lightning Hotel looks like it belongs in a ghost town. But Stanley is not a ghost town.
I see two pieces of gold. This is a piece of gold here.
Tom Crawford is 82. He and his wife are the last remaining residents of Stanley. For 32 years, Tom Crawford has been digging happiness out of this hole in the ground.
This hole?
Yeah.
It's our life.
Uh-huh.
We've got, Lil and I, we put everything we had into it.
Uh-huh.
There's times when we had to put our own money into it.
Uh-huh.
But
what do you get out of it?
A good life. And a damn good life.
But when you live here in a shack on a dusty old road to nowhere, life comes without the extras.
Outdoor plumbing, and the lack of running water, and the lack of electricity. It bothered me at first, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
What do you like about this place?
Well, it's home.
And there are many golden memories, like the time Tom came home with the big one.
He put this something on the table. I was busy making this coffee, and he says, "How do you like that?" And I looked at it, and I said, "Oh, no, it can't be." I didn't think it was, but it was an ounce-sized nugget.
There aren't many people like Lil and Tom left in the Caribou. That's because the experts say the gold is almost all gone. But after 32 years in the bush, Tom Crawford knows the experts are wrong.
With U.S. midterm elections just days away, Hollywood is doing what it can to get out the vote. Oprah knocked on at least one door yesterday in Georgia. So did Will Ferrell just a few days before. And Alicia Keys, America Ferrera, and Liza Koshy recently posted this video of their so-called vote trip through Texas.
It's a job review, and we're not showing up for the job review. We're the employer. Ah! You gotta say it like that.
A lot of these celebrity endorsements are geared towards younger people. And if you just look at their sheer numbers, millennials have about as much power at the polls as boomers. Except they're far less likely to actually show up on voting day. So Zuleka Nethu looks at whether celebrities can change that.
This is how one American group is chasing the coveted millennial vote.
The midterms are coming up through the 6th of November.
Headcount is an organization that partners with musicians to help register voters. Volunteers are at concerts across the country. Here in Los Angeles, they're at a Drake show.
Yeah, just trying to get young people more involved in the whole process.
In the 2016 presidential election, 46% of those aged 18 to 29 reported voting, the lowest turnout of any demographic. At Politicon, a recent bipartisan gathering geared toward millennials, we wanted to find out why.
Young people are just sort of jaded and cynical in a sort of unnatural way nowadays because we have so much just tremendous access to information.
I really feel like it's a little bit of laziness and indifference. That's what I'm going to stick with.
Other reasons? The inability to vote online and the demand to re-register every time you move, which a lot of young people do, often. Rihanna, John Legend, and Alyssa Milano are among the many celebrities putting out social media pleas to participate anyway. Even Taylor Swift got political for the first time, telling her 112 million Instagram followers who she was planning to vote for and why.
There's no question in the current political climate, higher turnout among younger people would lead to a heavier vote for the Democrats, which is why Democrats are focusing on getting younger people registered.
Can you help me get people registered? Okay, I'm already on it.
Michelle Obama's new organization, When We All Vote, is enlisting her famous friends and encouraging young people to go to the polls in groups, so-called voting squads.
Call Janelle.
No, not now. I'm registering voters.
They have a huge platform that helps us to kind of get in the door, but it really takes that peer-to-peer action to get people moving.
This is going to be my first time voting.
These college students say they're getting the message.
I do see a lot of retweets on Twitter from celebrities.
Does it make a difference to you?
I feel like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, retweet, and they're like, oh yeah, everyone go out and vote. So maybe it does, in a sense, like in general, make a difference.
When I see more like personalized stories by these celebrities and like their reasoning behind voting and like their stories, I think it influences me more.
I really want everyone turning 18 to register to vote this year.
Everyone should vote, because if you don't vote, then you don't have a voice.
The voters are coming.
By 2020, millennials will be the biggest voting bloc in time for the presidential election, if they show up at the polls. Zuleka Nethu, CBC News, Los Angeles.
This will be an election of Kavanaugh, the Caravan, law and order, and common sense.
So that critical vote goes down next week. America votes on Tuesday. And it's so much more than just which party ends up controlling the House and the Senate. It affects Canada too, right? Consider trade, the environment, and increasingly divided political rhetoric.
If you really care about what Christian values should be, this guy's the guy.
Tuesday night, make sure you join us for a special edition of The National. We'll all be here decoding the results, taking you live to battleground states.
There is nothing that can stop us.
And putting a critical eye to what happens through a Canadian lens. It all starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on CBC News Network and at 10 p.m. on CBC Television, 10:30 in Newfoundland.
And still ahead on tonight's National, a man in PEI fulfills a bucket list wish, becoming a contestant on Jeopardy! And that's our moment of the day.
But first, building a legacy in Black communities around Nova Scotia. How a meeting of middle-aged Black men in Halifax became a grassroots movement.
So we put a social media call out, and the response was amazing. We had over 100 Black men come and sit down at the table and talk about this, and it just started to develop from there.
Good evening. In a word, it was ugly. The world of finance today became a world of fear as stocks plunged, currencies crumbled, and worries grew. Not just here, around the globe, though this country was one of the most directly affected. Here's what happened. The Bank of Canada hiked its key lending rate 1 full percentage point in a bid to stop the sliding Canadian dollar. But the loonie kept on falling, losing another half a cent to close at another record low. And as the bank rate went up, stocks tumbled, the TSE plummeting 372 points. In New York, meantime, the Dow was down 357 points. Part of the reason for all this money madness, Russia. More economic turmoil there today. And rumors President Boris Yeltsin is about to resign. We will have more on the overseas angle later, but first, the story here in Canada. Our coverage begins with Eric Sorensen and a day that has left a lot of Canadians wondering what's next.
It was a tumultuous day on Bay Street, and the anxiety soon spread to Main Street at banks and trust companies across the country.
Absolutely. A lot of people are calling, wondering the status of their investments, what they should be doing as well.
That uncertainty began with a decision here at the Bank of Canada, where it seems global pressure to do something has overtaken domestic pressures to do nothing. After holding the line on interest rates for 8 months, the central bank has catapulted the bank rate up 1 full percentage point to provide support for the Canadian dollar in order to bolster confidence. The bank acknowledging the currency decline has more recently developed a momentum that signals a diminishing of confidence in Canadian dollar investments. This analyst says it's about time the bank acted.
It's told the world that the bank is there, that the bank will do something if necessary, and that it's not just a one-way bet against the Canadian dollar. We sure don't need to see a run on our currency at the same time that we've got all these other problems going on.
The Bank of Canada identified 3 big problems for the dollar: the Asian crisis, low commodity prices for things like lumber and minerals that Canada exports, and now a financial crisis in Russia. All have combined to drive the Canadian dollar to historic lows.
Huge global pressures, rational or irrational, are dumping currencies which are commodity-based and rushing to the U.S. dollar. And these are forces which are no fault of our own, but they are not something we have any control of.
To no one's surprise, the stock market took a wild ride down. Confidence wilted when the hike in the bank rate didn't stop the dollar from plummeting further.
I mean, the Bank of Canada has raised interest rates 3 times in the past 12 months up to today in an effort to keep the value of the dollar stronger, and it hasn't worked. Why would it work today?
The Minister of Finance, cautious not to say anything that would make things worse, supported the Bank of Canada's move.
Yes, there's going to be volatility, but I can tell you that given Canada's strong financial position, given our productivity, that we are going to do very, very well in the years ahead.
But the opposition says the government could have and should have done more than sit on the sidelines.
We'd much rather see the economy be spurred on and the dollar strengthened by a deep agenda of tax cuts. But the government has consistently rejected that.
The last time the bank rate was bumped up a full point was 3 years ago to shore up the dollar before the Quebec referendum, and the rate came down right afterwards. But this time the financial turmoil wasn't made in Canada, it's global. And that makes it hard to predict where the Canadian dollar and the economy are headed next. Eric Sorensen, CBC News, Ottawa.
More than 340 shootings were recorded in Toronto this year alone, leading to a summer filled with headlines. But other cities have had their own crises.
When people die needlessly, it's a sad thing.
In 2016, Halifax had a string of shootings. It led to calls for action on gun violence in that city and opened up a dialogue between generations.
We tell them, like, it's not the same as your guys' generation. Like, there's certain things we have to do and literally, like, to protect ourselves. It's not the same as there is to, like, fight and everything's cool. If you fight now, like, that person is going to do whatever they can to do whatever they have to do to you.
What hurts you hurts me. And for me to be able to look at a black man that looks like me and has the same struggles as me and pull that trigger, You know, you got to ask yourself, am I really trying to commit suicide here? I come from a generation where, you know, we never thought of that, right? But today, for these young men, that's their reality. You know, I will always fight that till the day I die.
That's Marcus James and his 20-year-old son, Trayvon Clayton. The son has been helping the father understand the root of such violence among today's millennials and those even younger. James is a founder of a grassroots movement for black men in Nova Scotia by black men in Nova Scotia. It's something those in the 902 area code say is unique. And tonight, we're going in depth with 902 Man Up.
We're going to have a little competition here for the youngins. It's who can do the best nay-nay. Come on, let's get it. Don't matter where you are. I want to see everybody do the nay-nay. Let's get it. Hey. Nay-nay. Where?
I think what makes Uniacke Square unique is the fact that it's a close-knit community. It's a welcoming place. It's home to a lot of people. It's just a very special place. But there are issues, right, that needs to be addressed.
Man's world is really about no guidance, only alliance, was more young boys like me lost. Paying the cost of live by the gun, die by the bullet. No role model, just a friend that said pull it. So when I squeezed that trigger, all I could picture was a single mother trying her best. People constantly telling me to stick on my chest, running up and down that block, punching the clock, because money was the way out. We're more alike than you know, there's similarity in our traits. Man up, because we're tired of seeing men down.
My name is Marcus James, and I'm co-founder and president of 902 Man Up. 902 Man Up is men being men. Men coming back, wanting to give back to their community, doing what they can, right? You know, no matter how big that looks or how small that is, it's them giving back and just showing the compassion and giving back what was once given to them. Right?
How you guys doing? What's up, though? What's going on? How you guys doing? How are you? Right.
I've been working in the community, 27 years. I lived in the community for, I can't even remember, right? My kids are from this community. It's home.
Right. Man up!
There you go, see?
Everybody knows him, that's for sure. We all try to support each other and you know, because it's all the same cause.
What motivates me is the fact that I got tired of attending young men's funerals. You know, that was very painful, and talking about it and seeing people hurt, I think just challenged me to say, okay, what can I do? So we put a social media call out, and the response was amazing. We had over 100 black men come and sit down at the table and talk about this. And it just started to develop from there. It was difficult because we had to have those hard conversations, because it started with us as older, mature black men asking ourselves, where did we drop the ball? As fathers, uncles, where did we drop the ball with these young men, right? And so we had to start that healing process, right, before we can move on and start engaging the young men.
People need support, and that's what 902 Man Up does.
My name's Corey Wright, and 902 Man Up has made a difference in my life by giving me extra tools and extra confidence to carry on my journey.
Okay, dear. Love ya. I was incarcerated twice, and the first one, I wasn't ready to change. But the second time I was in and I'm looking, I'm like, you know what, things need to change, because I don't want to keep coming in and out, in and out, in and out. I can't do that.
What's going on?
How you doing, brother? Yes, always.
Yes.
Smooth. Hey, square root. Smooth.
This is where I wanna be.
Still in it to win it, but give me a minute for unfinished business that I ain't committed to never submitting and never forgetting that I 902 Man Up. They speak to everybody individually. There's not a certain criteria that you have to fit. All of the mission is this is like you come in, you engage, they attack issues that you have. Okay, you having problems here, here, here. Let's address them, let's fix them. You have to be wanting and willing to change.
What's up, nephew?
What's up?
What's up? What you say?
Chillin',
How's it going?
chillin'.
Good? You good?
Blast.
All right, all
How you
right.
doing?
Not too bad,
So you
Ma.
switched off?
You have a chance to see this? That's the new brochure, right?
No.
Okay. Right, just information on the group and everything, right? Yeah, nice photo of you when you were doing the presentation too. Yeah.
This is what's up.
Yeah.
This
So
is
that's
what's
what we're going to be handing out, right, to the public when it comes to doing information sessions, right? That's what they'll receive. My relationship with this young man is undescribable. It really is, right? Because to be honest with you, I thought I lost him at one point in time. He knows what I'm talking about. I thought I lost him, so I felt I failed as well, right? Because I'm extremely close to him, right? But to see him today, and it's a learning curve for me. 902 Man Up has helped both of us to evolve, right? And be able to, because one of the things that we have to do as black men is be able to express our feelings to each other, right? You know, it's easy to pull a trigger or something like that, but it's difficult to look at a brother and say,
And have dialogue with him.
and have dialogue and be able to look him in his eyes and say, I love you, right? That's difficult for us, right? 902 Man Up has allowed us to be able to do that.
It means a lot. Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
You
Thank
know?
you.
Love you. You know that, Ma. You know that, right?
Thank you.
Right.
No, it should, Ma. I know it's going to be a good time, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be fun. But we got to
You gotta go over.
stuff from the vinyl.
No, I got that. You gotta go to Joyce.
You know, I don't think it's so much issues that we're identifying as issues that never been addressed, right? You know, and that's what we're doing, right? Whether that's justice, education, health, mental health, lack of employment, you know, opportunities. We're looking at all those, right? And some cases, we're able. What's going on now? Right. In some cases, we're able to address it. In other cases, it's about finding those resources and making them available to the community, in the community, by community. And that's it right there.
John, that's a good move, man. You gonna get your GED?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Go
try
on.
it, bro.
No, you ain't gonna try, bro. You're gonna succeed.
Yeah, I hope so.
No, you will. All it takes is, man, you just gotta put the time in, bro. Showing up every day. You know what I'm saying? That's 3/4 of
One of the things at 902 Man Up, what we do so well, and this is what makes our group so successful, is that we don't rely on government resources. We understand, we recognize the need, and we address it. It's community supporting community.
I got it,
Yep.
but I just can't put it together.
Remember what you and I talked about?
Yeah.
One day at a time, one
Yeah,
step
I
at a
can't-
time,
I
right?
can't wait
Don't
one
rush
day.
it. Don't
I
rush
got
it.
to.
Right?
Just know what you do, man. You have a good day.
Love you, Papa. Love you, man.
You have a
Love
good
you.
day.
Yeah.
Best hot dogs in the city right here, buddy.
Okay, Sean, you guys, if we run out of stuff, just let me know, and I'll run and grab some more. So you have your high points, your low points. You do, right? No, we got more over here, but once we start running, let me know. I'll run to the grocery store. But what really keeps you going is when you see a young man such as Corey Wright.
The 3-point competition, come here, let me take your name down. Let me take your name down.
Turn his life completely around and accomplish and overcome barriers that other people feel, okay, you know, his life's over. No, it's not. No, it's not. And, you know, when I see that and I see him doing so well, right, I mean, that's it right there. That's the payoff right there. It's seeing him get to that next level and then him turn around, give back to his community and provide those same type of supports to younger men and women coming up behind him.
When you have a collective saying things to you, it just hits harder. It just like, okay. And then when you look at them and you know them and it's coming from a genuine place.
Community.
It's like, oh, we're all for the same struggle. We're all for the same goals. We're all, you know what? We're a team here. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Peace. Yeah.
I would love to hear more about that group and others like it. 902 Man Up. Okay, still ahead on The National. For most of us, the clocks go back an hour this weekend. But ever wonder who changes the clocks in the towers around the city? We'll introduce you to Toronto's clockmaster.
This mechanism has a heartbeat. And if there's anything different or an off beat or no tick, something, I'll pick up on that.
Sunday night on The National, the last remaining statue of Sir John A. is in Regina. We take you there and dive into the debate about how to remember Canada's past.
John A., I wanted to confront you. I wanted to talk about Indian residential schools.
Why would citizens decide to put John A. Macdonald's statue here in the place where Riel was hung? That shocks me. It's a provocation.
He is the father of Confederation, and I'm not sure where we would be if it hadn't been for him. I think if this statue came down, and then you start to just erode the legacy and the heritage of the country.
If we can't deal with a statue in a park, I'm not really seeing reconciliation in the near future.
Joining me now, the band leader from Late Night with David Letterman, Paul Schaefer. Now, you were here and you in Vancouver to go to the royal dinner. When you were on Late Night with Letterman last week, you were saying just before the dinner that you had to get a pair of black silk socks to go with your tuxedo. Were you able to find any?
I really had the socks. I just wanted to refer to the socks on TV, but I had them. Actually, I had to buy cufflinks, though. I forgot my cufflinks.
What was the dinner like?
It was great. It was, you know, it was the first state dinner I've ever been to.
Did you meet?
Yes, there was a reception first with a lot of dignitaries there, and I was fortunate enough to be in the company of a chap who sort of sneaked me into the reception so that I might meet the.
You weren't in. You couldn't get in without being snuck in.
Well.
You crashed the thing, right?
Lee Richardson, who is the, I believe, the executive assistant to the Prime Minister, sort of got me in. He said, "Come with me. I want you to meet somebody." And the next thing I knew, I was on sort of a receiving line, and the Prime Minister and his wife and Prince and Princess were going down the line.
What do you do in those lines? I mean, do you really have a chance to talk with them at all, or is it just sort of a lot of nodding and hello, how are you?
Well, you speak very briefly. This is what happened. I thought that if I was ever going to get to meet Prince and Princess of Wales, it would be somebody. Don't you always hear that there's going to be somebody to brief you on what the proper protocol? There was nobody, of course. Just Lee. He said, "Come in, come with me," and there I was. And then he was gone, and I said, "What do I call him?" You know, and he just called back. He said, "Your Highness," and he was gone. Okay, so at least I knew that. And then the last person I spoke to on the phone before I left New York was Eric Clapton, who I know a little bit. You know, and he was in town recording, and called me up, and he said he'd heard on the show. He said, "I hear you're going to Vancouver to meet the royals." I said, "Yeah." I said, "What should I do?" He said, "Well, whatever you do, don't speak to them first if you get to meet them. They speak first, then you speak." Okay, so that words of Eric Clapton were ringing in my mind, and all of a sudden there's Prince Charles, and nobody knows who I am, you know, because Lee Richardson was gone.
Did you have a name tag on or anything?
No.
Nothing. All right, so you're standing there.
So I'm standing there, he's standing there. So I didn't know what to do, so I broke protocol. I spoke first. I said, "Hello, Your Highness. I'm Paul Schaefer. I'm the musical director of the David Letterman Late Night TV show." He says, "Oh, really? How late?" So I said, 12:30. He says, "Well, count me out." And that was my conversation with Prince Charles.
Now, with Lady Princess Diana, were you able to?
Just a brief. Again, I introduced myself.
No.
And, she said, "How do you do?" And
do you ever feel like the Ed McMahon of the '80s? Didn't you? I mean, being a sidekick.
Well, you know, I guess I'm asking for it. There I am. I'm in that spot. I'm like Ed and Doc combined, I guess. I never thought I'd end up that way at such a young age, but I don't know. What am I going to say? You know.
You're having a good time. You're having a good
I'm
time
having a
with it.
terrific time. You know, my job is to be supportive of David, to give him something to play off, to try to be spontaneous with him. It's terrific. It's an ideal job for me. I got a cute little band. I get to play all my favorite songs, whatever I want to play, and I get to talk on television and converse with David in a very spontaneous manner. I think it's terrific.
You guys friends?
Yeah, we're friends.
Yeah.
We don't hang out extensively, but every once in a while we get together.
It's a great show again.
Thanks.
And congratulations. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
This is the birthplace of the peacemaker. Legend has that he traveled the waters in a stone canoe. A stone canoe? How fast do you have to paddle a stone canoe to keep it afloat?
A new episode of Still Standing, Tuesday on CBC.
Former Governor General Adrienne Clarkson has responded to this week's criticism over her expenses since leaving the job. In a piece in the Globe and Mail, she says she does many public events with, quote, 182 commitments last year. Earlier this week, it was revealed Clarkson had billed more than $100,000 to the government 9 times in the 12 years since she left her post. She hasn't said what she spent the money on.
This contract was fair when it was entered into, continue to produce benefits for both parties that are fair.
The Churchill Falls Corporation has lost its decades-long fight to reopen a controversial energy deal with Hydro-Quebec. The contract was signed back in 1969, and since then, Quebec has seen a nearly $28 billion profit, while Newfoundland and Labrador has collected just $2 billion. The corporation wanted to force a reopening of the contract because the energy market had changed dramatically, but the Supreme Court voted against that 7-1.
Sanctions are starting on Iran, and, you know, Iran is taking a very big hit.
Not so much starting, but restarting. The Trump administration is restoring sanctions on Iran that had been lifted as part of the 2015 nuclear agreement. The sanctions will cover the country's shipping, financial, and energy sectors. Trump tweeted this Game of Thrones-inspired photo to announce they'll start on Monday. And that is Alec Baldwin as he leaves the New York Police Department station after being charged with assault. It's alleged he punched a man during an argument over a parking spot, injuring the man's jaw. Baldwin was charged with misdemeanor assault and harassment and then released.
Okay, it's a good time to remind most of you in Canada to set your clocks back an hour before you go to bed tomorrow night. Now, granted, your smartphone will probably do that for you, so that's one less clock to worry about as daylight saving time comes to an end. But John Scott will be up bright and early with a big job ahead. He's the man in charge of one of Canada's oldest tower clocks that's been ticking away since the year 1900. And recently, John led us into his world where time occasionally stands still.
There's a saying, a properly operating tower clock shows the well-being of the community. If it's indicating the wrong time, any visitor, they'd look at that and they'd kind of scratch their head and, what's going on with this town? From ground level, there's about 369 steps. I'd put my request in for an elevator to be replaced. I'm still waiting for a reply. When I first come up into the clock room, I'm using all my senses. This mechanism has a heartbeat, and if there's anything different or an off beat or no tick, something, I'll pick up on that. And of course, when the bells strike, the quarter chime and the hour strike, I'm also listening for that. You have to be a contortionist, and you have to be ambidextrous. You have to be able to operate tools with both hands. Notice a big difference in the sound. You notice that difference? Smooth. In the fall, time goes back an hour. So what I do when I come up here, I stop the clock for at least an hour. That pendulum's very heavy. I'll put my foot up against it down low. It's kind of like stopping a train. I just have to keep pushing, and it'll take maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds to stop it. And that's an ideal opportunity for me to do some maintenance that I don't normally get a chance to do when the clock is in operation. It's a work of art. And to imagine that they were able to put this together has me baffled even with today's technology. I've always enjoyed, ever since I took over this contract, I've enjoyed every minute in this tower. It's Newton's law, it's energy. And it's, yes, some of it's going to move the hands, but I think there's a little bit of excess energy, and I feel like I'm absorbing that. I come out of a tower and I feel a little bit invigorated and a little lighter in my step. I'm not tired or sluggish. Clocks are just, never cease to amaze me, how they just keep going and going.
Up next on The National, our moment of the day, and the man from PEI who made it all the way to Final Jeopardy.
Jonathan Greenan is from Canada, from the pretty province of Prince Edward Island.
Yes. I've been a fan of Jeopardy since I was a kid. I can remember watching the show 30 plus years ago, sitting on my grandparents' floor. It's been the experience of a lifetime.
But in case you missed it, hiya, handsome. This dazzling mandarin duck has mysteriously appeared in New York City's Central Park, and it's a long way from home. You usually find these things in Asia, not in the middle of Manhattan.
This is so cool. Look at how beautiful it is.
Nobody seems quite sure where he came from. He's not a zoo animal, and it's against the law to own a pet duck in that city, which, well, maybe just adds to his allure.
Never in my life did I think I would ever see one in Central Park.
It doesn't look real. It looks like somebody painted a rubber ducky.
A lot of attention just for one duck, and he does seem to be on his own, already dubbed New York's most eligible bachelor.
The days of playing closies and topsies against the wall are pretty much over. The sports card industry has changed dramatically over the years. Some say the fun is gone. I remember 20 years ago, I didn't think twice about whipping a card against the wall. But now people are encasing them in plastic, putting them under glass, and locking them up in vaults.
Montreal Maroons, there's Lionel Conacher, the big train, and Mike. They call me the #1 world collector in cards and that. The great John L. Sullivan.
At 53, Angelo Savelli has seen the industry change from a boyhood passion to a billion-dollar industry that's losing all of its innocence.
I love the Euros at that time, especially the Lionel Conacher, the big train. That was something that I wanted to have because they were idols of mine, and I never looked into it as the money. And there's not too many people out there that want it because they were great. They want it because it's worth a lot of money. This is the laundry room where I put a lot of the cards that my wife's been crying about.
Savelli started collecting cards when he was only 5. He admits it was an obsession that became even worse as he grew older, an obsession that almost had his wife pack up the kids and leave him a number of times.
She's often said that I was nuts. A lot of time to get rid of it and throw it out. Every day. Every day she used to always come up with things like that.
It hasn't been easy over the years with this collection because there's been
a lot of family money go into the cards. And here, you know, like I'm getting ready, he's getting ready to give me a punch. But the truth is the truth. But
It says on it, Bobby O'Reilly.
What are some of the funny stories?
when I came home from grocery shopping, and here he'd sold the family car, and I had nowhere to go. I had no car to go grocery shopping anymore. And then another time I found out about the fridge and stove. Well, that just took the cake. I thought, it's either stay here or get out. You know, I didn't know what I was going to do.
The only Canadian heavyweight champion of the world.
Savelli has no idea how many cars he has, nor does he know how much he spent over the years on his collection. But whatever it is, it probably doesn't come close to what some of his cards are worth. His prized possession being a 1905 card of the Pittsburgh Pirates' great shortstop, Honus Wagner. It's so rare, only 6 people are known to have one, including hockey superstar Wayne Gretzky, who, with Argo owner Bruce McNall, paid about $450,000 for it. But Savelli says he's not about to give his up.
That there I paid $1,500 with a group of probably another 300-400 cards that were included with this. There was Ty Cobbs, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, Cy Young.
It's one of those cases where you'll never forget.
I really wanted this case to be solved.
We got him. He absolutely nailed him.
Wait!
Get out of the car.
We searched the bush. I was obsessed.
I really wanted to solve it for her.
There's one guy with that unique DNA that we want.
We have no suspects, no forensics. People were very, very worried.
Hey!
We had to reopen the suspicious death investigation.
It was a haunting case.
This is the birthplace of the peacemaker. Legend has that he traveled the waters in a stone canoe. A stone canoe? How fast do you have to paddle a stone canoe to keep it afloat?
A new episode of Still Standing, Tuesday on CBC. CBC Music, home of the Junos.
Hand on the buzzer now. We'll take popular game shows for $200, please, Alex. Of course, the question is, what is Jeopardy? Appearing as a contestant on tonight's episode was a dream come true for Jonathan Greenan of Prince Edward Island. And that is our moment of the day.
$27,201 for the young man.
I've been a fan of Jeopardy since I was a kid. I can remember watching the show 30 plus years ago when they started having online contestant search application opportunities. I've been applying through those for probably about 10 years. And I was invited to an in-person audition as a result of one of those. Didn't get selected from that, but used the experience to adjust what I needed to do the next time I got invited to an in-person audition in Toronto.
All right, Jonathan and Laura.
It was pretty surreal. I got a call from the producers in LA asking me to come out. In the room 6.
Answer.
I spent the month basically cramming as much knowledge as I could into my head, my memory.
I'll just do 1,200, Alex.
Everyone's been so supportive here on PEI. It's a big deal for a local person to be on a show like Jeopardy.
Enjoy the weekend.
It's something that I'll always remember, and it's something I'm incredibly thankful for having had the opportunity to be a part of the Jeopardy family.
So I think, Andrew, around the time he was watching Jeopardy, he said about 30 years ago on the island, I was watching it in Halifax. I was in university, obviously a lot older than he is, and was hooked on Jeopardy. I watched it every night for a few years, and then kind of, you know, life got in the way. What about you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I would say I was an on and off again fan. I just kind of watch it whenever it was on. But I was always really impressed by people who were good at the game, because I was always impressed when I got 1 or 2 or 3 right over the course of a show. So people who can win it outright, that's pretty incredible.
And I've heard people who are on it say the toughest thing, which you can't replicate at home, is having to buzz in first. So even if you know the answer, you got to be able to hit that buzzer really quickly. Can we reveal what Katie said to us, our producer, during the break? She has a favorite Jeopardy category. Was it ancient history?
Yeah, I think that's what she said. My favorite category was just like words that start with G. Like it has to be that simple, and well, any letter really, but those were the easiest, the most accessible categories.
All right, well, I need to do some homework and come up with a favorite category, but I've learned something about both you and Katie. That is The National for Friday, November the 2nd. Good night.
Good night.